Hello, welcome to episode number 12 of Talking to Unicorns. Today, I am joined by Nikolai. He's a Webflow developer from Wellington, and he has been making the Unicorn Factory look way better. Some of you may have seen some changes here and there. It's not because of me. I could never do that. Nikolai's been doing all that work. Nikolai, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, mate. Doing good. Thank you for having me.
No worries. So can you give people a bit of a rundown who you are, what you do? Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. So from New Zealand, from Wellington, born and bred. So I've been in New Zealand my whole life. Can't get away from Wellington specifically. And yeah, went to school here. I studied graphic design originally. From that, I kind of started doing some graphic design stuff on the side, and then eventually got like my first proper job. My first proper job doing graphic design was actually minimum wage, which was pretty tough. It made me think that people didn't really value design or good design, and kind of made me like a little bit unconfident going forward from that point. But then after that, like each job, it just got better, and then it got to a point where I started doing freelancing on the side. And then COVID was when my hours dropped in-house, and I started to really find projects on the side. And then from that, I quit my job and am now freelancing full-time. So I've been full-time for about maybe 3 or 4 months now.
Nice. That's awesome. So let me get right back to the start. Did you start
Yes.
doing graphic design work while you were still at university, or did you get your first job after you had graduated?
I always did kind of like bits and bobs of like logos for clients on the side, but really just like once a month, maybe once every 2 months, just whenever it made sense, or like a friend of a friend wanted a logo. I was like, yeah, I can do that for you. But not properly until I left uni. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. And so, you're working in-house with a business doing their graphic design work. What kind of graphic design work did you do for them?
Kind of just whatever needed to be done. So like a lot of originally it was like packaging, a lot of kind of digital ads, some illustration type work. I find that like from what I studied compared to what it's like in-house, um, it's really loose. You really just get whatever needs to be done at the moment. So it can really range every single day that you're working in-house. Yeah.
Nice. Cool. So I just want to because we are all freelancers, I mainly want to talk to you about freelancing. And you joined the Unicorn Factory quite a while ago, but it's really been in the last few months that you've started freelancing full time, which is odd because you pretty much started freelancing full time in the midst of COVID. So can you just tell us how that all came about?
Yeah, totally. So with COVID, when my hours dropped, it gave me more time to kind of focus on what I actually look like to be a freelancer. So spending a bit more time kind of following up on potential clients and really like figuring out how to put my name out there and kind of be seen. So yeah, literally with that, just having kind of, 20 hours to really focus on what I can do to make a name for myself online, that really helped leverage into full-time freelancing. And I think rather than jumping straight into full-time freelancing, being able to just do it part-time really helped make sure that it was actually going to work before I could do it, all the time.
Mm-hmm. And so so we've worked together, and the reason why I got in touch with you was because you happen to be a Webflow developer or Webflow designer. And so was that a conscious decision of yours to specialize in that particular area, or did that just kind of come about?
Yeah, it just kind of came about. I mean, I always knew that niching was going to be important. And like, originally when I was a graphic designer and also and also a web designer, kind of just like whatever design work you have, throw it at me. I got a lot less work. But because a lot of my friends are kind of developers and software engineers, I got more and more curious about that kind of, proper full web design, how that works and what that looks like. And because of that, I just kept doing more and more of it. And then I realized it was just kind of like a lot of fun. So I don't know, I kind of did stumble into something that feels like a niche to me right now. And I could probably like go further, niche further. But like at this point, it feels like a good niche. Like I get a good amount of work because people come to me for Webflow development, which is really helpful.
Nice. So can you tell us a bit about how your first few months of freelancing have been?
Oh, you cut out. Say that one more
Oh,
time.
sorry. So can you let me know how your first few months of freelancing have been?
Really, really good actually. I'm not sure why it worked so well when it started working. It is kind of a combination of those things of like, having a good portfolio behind me, and also like finally like actually calling myself a Webflow developer. But no, it's been really good. A whole range of different projects. Kind of sometimes it's from scratch, and sometimes it's starting with the design and taking that and then developing it. And sometimes it's just doing touch-ups on a website. I think my favorite projects is when clients have an idea. They know they want a website, but they're still really unsure about what they actually need on their website. So actually not only going through the design process with them, but also the organization process, like figuring out why they need what they need. So right back to the start, that's probably my favorite projects.
Cool. So, because you've been working in-house for such a long time, how did you kind of learn like all the things that you needed to know when it came to like talking to clients and taking them through those processes and just running what you do as a business rather than an employee?
I think the change is very drastic. I think a lot of what I learned in terms of how to deal with clients was over time rather than in-house. Like, because when it's in-house, they both have like collaborative elements, but in-house is a lot more kind of you're working together like for this company, for this project, whereas clients, they kind of have their vision and you're kind of trying to show them a different vision or slightly just push them towards a different direction. So I don't know, I find it definitely quite different. And I can imagine that some people really enjoy working in-house and wouldn't want to ever freelance. And some people just don't know what it's like to freelance. And when they start working with clients, they realize that it's actually like really a lot of fun helping them out.
And so, how are you learning all these things? Like when you're working with clients, like how are you learning about the process of taking them through like briefs and preparing quotes and all that kind of stuff? Do you have certain resources that you use, or you're kind of making it up on the go, or how are you
Yeah,
approaching learning all those new things?
totally. I think a lot of it is figuring out as you go along, and also like just starting with the way you think it's supposed to work, and then finding the tools that help refine that process. So like right now I'm using Bonsai freelancing, and that's really helped me make a lot of things so much easier. But I think if I jump straight onto it, I might be a little lost about where to actually go. So I think it's just really good to jump into it, figure out what's happening and what you have to do, and then just refining that process in every single step, just slowly over time.
hmm
Yeah.
So, looking back in hindsight, do
Hmm.
you wish you would have started freelancing earlier, or do you feel like this is the right time to be doing it?
No, I wish I would have started a long time ago. I think I needed the savings or the confidence for me to just try stuff for a couple of months and just see what happens. And I
hmm
didn't really. I think COVID kind of pushed me into that rather than me trying it myself. But if a couple of years before I started, I would have just again just trying for a couple months and being okay if it didn't work straight away. I would have much preferred that. I think the perks that come with freelancing, if you're the kind of person who likes freelancing, is just so worth it.
Nice. So, have you found anything particularly difficult, or anything that makes you a bit uncomfortable in the first few months of freelancing?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm really, really bad at saying no or figuring out kind of how to yeah, say no to clients. So when it comes to like things that need to be turned around quite quickly, I definitely have worked evenings and worked weekends a little bit more than I would have liked. And, you know, again, that's mostly just me not being able to say like, no, actually, like we're going to have to wait a little bit longer because I want to keep clients happy, you know, and I want them to know that I'm reliable and doing the work for them. So I think that's the toughest thing that I've had to deal with um, is figuring out how to protect my evenings and weekends better and not just let the work bleed over to all of the rest of my life.
Hmm. Do you find working with clients is similar to working with employers? Like, do you feel like they have the same kind of approach, or do you feel like there's a clear difference between working as a self-employed person and working as an employee, just from the perspective of the person that you work for?
Yeah, I think it does depend where you work, but for the most part, I think it's quite different. Like again, if you're in a small company, then it might be quite different to when you're in a big company, and the person who might be the project leader kind of knows, you know, how your job works. But when you're being hired by a small business, they don't really know like how you do your thing. They just want you to do it. So I think that's the biggest difference. When you're in-house, they kind of understand what you do already, so they can kind of direct you more. Whereas clients really need your help to understand what you do for them and why you do it.
Hmm. So was that like a bit of a like shock to the system, like jumping in there and realizing that that is now part of your job as well?
Totally, yeah, hands down. And I think a lot of freelancing is not only being good at the thing that you're doing, but also you've really got to be good at connections, like, and also selling, and also just keeping people happy. Like a lot of it, I didn't really realize, but a lot of it is sales and relationships, and then a
Hmm.
part of it is actually the work that you do, but not all of it, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, that's super interesting. So, you've been recently doing some work on the Unicorn Factory.
Yeah, yeah, it's been
How
good.
how have I been to work with?
I mean, again, like since you have the vision and you're really excited about it all, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a whole lot of fun. And again, I think since we have very similar ideas, it works out really well. And it's just been a fun website to work on, you know, like especially because I have experience on it and using it, and I had to go through the process before I realized that you were gonna, you know, make me, you know, design that process.
Yeah. So, I just, I just want you to like, do you recall how it came about that we started working together? Because that was what you did was what basically made me go, all right, let's try it out. But I think it was so genius how proactive you were. But can you tell people what you did to basically get us to work together?
I mean, to be honest, I think maybe you might know more than me, but I think the biggest thing was literally saying that I was a Webflow developer as my title rather than a generic designer. I mean, like maybe that was the biggest thing. What do you think?
Well, so it was actually, you sent me this huge list of
Oh, yeah,
improvements.
yeah, yeah.
You sent me this
Yeah.
email with like, hey, I think you should do this different, this different, this different, this different. Also, I think like that doesn't make sense. And I was just like, all right, like give it a go, you know. And you then went out and designed all those landing pages. I loved what you did, and that was kind of how things started off. And I feel like have you taken like a similar approach with other clients where you just like reach out to them and say, hey, here's some things that I think you should fix, or was it just something that you did with me?
You know, I actually tried cold emailing or kind of like warm emailing in a similar way to clients before, where I've found websites that I thought like could be improved. And I just straight off the bat said like, you know, hey, came across your website. Like, you know, you're also in Wellington. I'm in Wellington. Here's a couple of things I think, you know, could be improved. And I got really nothing back, to be honest. So I don't think that in itself has worked super well. But I think maybe because again, because you get design, because it was talking to someone who gets design and who understands the improvements that could be made.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it obviously works so well with you. But I think just showing that you're excited about their business, you know, you really want to just be on that same journey with them, and help them through all those things. That's the kind of approach that really helps out.
Mm-hmm. For sure. That was honestly was great. And now I took a lot of learnings from that. So I started emailing a whole bunch of businesses that I wanted to work with and told them that their website looks like garbage. No one
Wow.
responded. No, I'm joking. I didn't do that. Awesome. So what are the kind of clients that you ideally want to work for in the future now that you've kind of settled in, you've done it for a few months, and do you have like an idea of like who your ideal client is?
I think, to be honest, it's less of like a certain kind of work and more of a certain kind of person. But like in terms of the work that it is, starting from scratch is something that I really, really like. So businesses with an idea, or who just need to take their idea online and just still don't really know how to go about doing it, or businesses who really appreciate and understand design, but maybe they don't know how that design would translate to online.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the kind of projects that really, really excite me. And especially like using Webflow. Webflow is such a godsend. Like for people who are developers, and kind of want to do less code, Webflow is such a godsend. So for clients who want really customized websites, but they don't want it to take a really long time or cost a crazy amount of money developing it, Webflow has been such a quick way to make websites for people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, couldn't agree more. That's honestly the secret. So in this last section, I usually reserve it for tips and tricks for up-and-coming freelancers. I think we've already covered a lot of it, but let's talk specifically about like what to do if someone wants to become a web designer or a web developer and they're maybe in their first or second year of uni. What kind of recommendations would you have? Like, what are some good steps to take to kind of build your client base and get work?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of different ways of approaching it. To me, the best way is to start a side hustle and like start producing work that you're doing just because you love doing it. And then from there, you can build a kind of portfolio so that when clients come to you, you can show them that you do good work. So for me, it's really just having a side hustle that you already enjoy. You know, you're already doing the work, and you're not being stressed out about it. So you want to do it more. It's kind of getting that routine going of just making really cool stuff. And like, I really think from there, clients will not show up on your door, but it'll be a lot easier once you're in that process, rather than if you're starting from scratch, looking for clients straight away and approaching clients. It might be a lot tougher. I also think just like ask around people, you know, like, does someone want a website? Like, is someone kind of wanting to start that thing, but they don't know how to do it? Like, you can just do it for free and do it for cheap if it's for a friend. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. Like I do a lot of work with my friends on websites, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Fully agree. It's like just getting something out that you can show potential clients is the key to getting the ball rolling. And you don't need to, because that's a big one that I always hear from people, is like, how do you get experience, or how do you basically get to work on projects? And like working on your own projects is like the best place to start. So what kind of projects have you worked on?
A whole bunch of different ones. We've done a couple of websites that are just kind of like tools. We've done like a markdown editor, kind of these things. And again, those are super fun to work on. So if you have an idea and you kind of are curious about what it might look like, just like jumping in and just trying it and seeing if it works out is such a good idea. Especially if there's other people that you can collaborate with. Maybe like, again, the designer and developer relationship is just so handy to have. So I think those kind of projects are always good. Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, Nikolai, where can we find you? Where can we look up your work? Where can we do all those fun things?
You can find my stuff on nikolaibain.com. So like first name, last name.com. I was so excited when I bought my domain. I think it's such a something that people should do very early on is buy their own domain.
Yeah.
But other than that, you can find my profile on the Unicorn Factory website. And if people have like feedback or things that they think we can include in the Unicorn Factory, how should they go about doing that? Should they contact you or me or?
Either. Feel free to contact Nikolai with suggestions, or me, or, you know, yeah, my email. Yeah, just send us an email or just contact us through our profile forms on the Unicorn Factory. But yeah, just reach out if you have any ideas or suggestions around it, for sure.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because like again, we're including a lot of really cool stuff, but I'm always curious what would be really good for people. So, yeah, good idea.
For sure. Yeah, and even just having you come in and help out with it has really like added a lot of perspective of like how users use it, you know, like
Totally.
because sometimes I spend too much time looking at it that I can't see the obvious problems. So anyone watching this and anyone who's used the Unicorn Factory before and kind of has ideas of like, or finds things confusing or all that kind of stuff, reach out to us. We want to hear what you think, and then we can potentially incorporate it all. But yeah.
Hands down.
Well, Nikolai, thank you so much. I'm really stoked that we got a chance to chat on here. And yeah, that was Unicorn Factory episode number 12. And yeah, I've never said this before, but like this video on YouTube and subscribe on Spotify. But yeah, other than that, I'll see you back for the next one. Thanks and goodbye.